Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever noticed that some of the most impactful people,
Hmm.
the ones who truly seem to get things done and lead these extraordinary lives, well, they aren't always the loudest ones in the room.
Right.
They don't seem to crave the spotlight,
Hmm.
nor do they feel the need to broadcast every single thought or achievement.
Mm-hmm.
In a world that often rewards noise and, constant self-promotion, there's this powerful, quiet counter-narrative emerging.
There really is.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into why truly capable individuals often choose to speak less, and how cultivating moments of silence can actually profoundly transform your life. We're
Yeah.
going to explore a fascinating set of insights drawn from various sources that really peel back the layers of this kind of counterintuitive wisdom.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't just about being an introvert or being shy. Not at all.
No.
It's about a deliberate choice, maybe even a strategic approach to life and work that reclaims that inner power and yields tangible, often quite surprising, results. Our mission today is really to extract the core principles behind this power of quietness, helping you understand not just what it is, but why it matters so much, and, crucially, how you might apply it to your own life.
Okay. Moving beyond just the idea.
Exactly. Think of it as moving from that state of constant reaction to thoughtful intention. We'll uncover how moments of stillness can actually be the wellspring of clarity, discipline, fresh ideas, and ultimately a more authentic and impactful way of being.
All right, here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Hmm.
Our sources begin by highlighting a, pretty radical idea that profound life changes can happen when you dare to embrace quiet time,
Mm.
even as little as 1 month dedicated to serious self-reflection. It sounds like a challenge, right?
It definitely does. A big one for many.
But it's presented as this incredibly powerful space for your inner energy to return. So let's start by looking at how this deliberate silence can fundamentally shift your inner world.
Absolutely. And the foundational idea here is that your inner voice, your true guide, is just so often drowned out by all the external noise.
Completely.
And this isn't just the chatter in your head, it's like your life's navigation center, perpetually obscured by daily distractions. Social media, endless external advice, that constant comparison we all seem to fall into.
It's relentless.
It is. Imagine like a compass caught in a storm. It's just spinning wildly,
Yeah.
and you never truly know which way is north. But when you actively stop, when you create that quiet space, your inner compass finally settles.
Oh.
It starts pointing you towards your authentic path. So many of our deepest thoughts and desires never truly get considered because we're just so consumed by what others are saying or expecting from us.
That's such a vivid image, the compass in the storm. It
Mhm.
really makes you think about how much noise we genuinely let into our lives, maybe without even realizing it.
Exactly. Picture a room absolutely filled with shouting voices all telling you what to do or who you should be.
Yeah.
And amidst all that, there's this small, soft voice whispering your true desire, maybe, this isn't what I want, or this is what I truly believe, but it's never heard because of the sheer volume,
Drowned out.
completely drowned out. That's precisely what happens in daily life for many of us.
Mhm.
And this is why quiet time holds such immense value. Listening to your inner voice allows you to reevaluate what you truly desire, not just what society or your friends or your family deems good or successful.
Right.
It prompts those crucial questions. Is what I'm doing right now actually right for me? Does it truly align with my inner goals? What am I striving for really, and for whom? This is the very beginning of true clarity.
It sounds like stripping away layers.
It really is. It's like driving in thick fog. If you just follow the taillights of the car in front, assuming they know the way, you might end up somewhere you never intended to be.
Happens all the time.
But if you stop, pull out your own map, turn on your headlights, and truly consider your destination, then the path you choose will come from your own understanding, not just a fear of getting lost or left behind.
That makes perfect sense.
And think of a musician, maybe, who plays songs for others their whole life. They might be incredibly skilled, get lots of applause, maybe even gain some fame.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go home feeling empty, wondering, where is my song? The one that comes from me. Listening to your own voice isn't just some personal indulgence. It's the absolute foundation for truly powerful work, for a meaningful life. It's not about creating an inner voice. It already exists, waiting patiently to be heard once you quiet the noisy outside world.
And that clarity, that connection with your inner compass, then directly impacts how you use your most precious resource, your time. This quiet time helps you identify and then prioritize the truly important, often neglected aspects of your life.
Yeah, the stuff that gets pushed aside.
Exactly. What's truly important varies for everyone, of course, but it often includes things like deeper self-understanding, genuinely taking care of your physical and mental health, setting clear personal goals, developing new skills, and regularly reviewing your current path.
A foundation.
They are the foundations for long-term stability. Yet they're almost always ignored because we feel like we just lack the time. It feels like our time is owned by external demands. Phone alerts often precede our own thoughts these days. We spend our days reacting, not choosing how to spend our time.
It's so true. And before we intentionally embrace quiet time, we constantly confuse the urgent, like those work deadlines, responding immediately to messages or social engagements we feel obligated to attend, with the important but not urgent.
Oh, that's the classic distinction.
It is. And those are the things that are actually crucial for our future. Maybe learning that language you always wanted to, meditation, financial planning, or truly clarifying our long-term goals. These future-defining activities are always the first to fall by the wayside amidst all that external noise and perceived urgency.
Right. And the process of embracing this quiet, especially for a whole month, as the sources suggest, is really quite fascinating. They say the initial days might feel awkward, empty, even boring.
Like withdrawal.
Exactly. Almost like breaking an addiction to coffee or your phone. That restlessness, that craving for stimulation, it really persists for a bit. But then, maybe after 3 to 5 days, time genuinely begins to slow down. That mental space, which was so cluttered before, starts to open up for real introspection.
You can breathe mentally.
Yeah. By mid-month, silence actually starts to become a friend, not an enemy you're trying to fill. You might find yourself journaling, taking aimless walks without a destination, finally reading those books you brought ages ago.
That pile on the nightstand.
Exactly. Or truly listening to your inner voice about your direction, rather than just following others' ideas of what's good or successful. You start to see that you don't have to do everything immediately, reply to everyone constantly, or rush towards goals that aren't truly yours.
That's liberating.
It really is. This period of quiet builds inner strength far beyond ordinary rest. It allows you to sort of reorganize your entire internal system. You might realize how much quality sleep truly clears your mind, or how just an hour without screens can spark an idea you'd overlooked for ages.
Those aha moments in the quiet.
Precisely. After a month, the idea is you feel this profound inner stability, a kind of readiness of spirit, knowing your true next steps because you've filtered out layers and layers of external thought, leaving only your own. Your attitude towards time fundamentally shifts. You no longer see a month as too long to dedicate to this, but as a precious gift that changes how you view life, make decisions, and truly believe in your own power.
Wow.
So the key takeaway here seems to be, success isn't just about running fastest. It's about moving steadily in the right direction for you. And quiet time ensures that the path you're on is truly yours.
And this leads directly, almost inevitably, to cultivating discipline through that stillness. True time discipline, you see, isn't really about filling every single minute, packing your schedule.
No, not micromanaging.
Not at all. It's more the art of choosing what's most important and then dedicating your full intention to it, truly honoring your life energy. When you step into quiet, one of the first, maybe slightly uncomfortable things you realize is how you've really been spending your time.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, both necessarily for work and life, but also often just to avoid emptiness or discomfort. It can be quite shocking to realize how quickly days, weeks, months pass with so little true value created simply by endless scrolling or aimless conversations that go nowhere.
That hits home.
But this realization, even if it stings a bit, is a profound gift. It's the opportunity for real change.
Okay, that's a challenging truth to face, though. It's just so easy to get caught up in distractions. So how does this quiet discipline actually begin? What's the first step?
It begins simply, really simply. In that month of quiet, just start by asking yourself, what are the 3 most important things I will focus on today? Just 3.
Okay, manageable.
Very manageable. Then pour your full energy into them. It's not about doing a lot, remember, but about doing with wholehearted intention. Time then becomes alive. It doesn't just pass by in a blur, it actually creates something.
I like that time becomes alive.
Yeah. Initially, your mind will absolutely crave distractions. desperately, it will resist this focus. But if you persist through those first few days, maybe the first week, you'll see a clear change. From aimless mornings, you'll start to awaken with a sense of purpose, knowing exactly how you're choosing to spend your life's energy and quietly progressing towards your goals.
Hmm.
The real magic of time discipline is that it doesn't just change your schedule, it deeply transforms your very being. You start to see that your potential is actually far greater than you ever imagined. Being alone isn't wasted time. It's like planting small seeds that will one day become a giant tree, providing shade for your entire life.
That's a beautiful image.
Think about dedicating just 1 hour a day for a month to a dream project, learning a new skill, starting to write that book, systematically planning your life, exercising, or meditating. That's 30 hours of continuous self-development.
Which is huge.
It's more than most people consciously invest in themselves all year. And you don't need to be ready or perfectly inspired or have some mythical block of perfect free time. You just need to start.
Just begin.
Just begin. What truly changes life isn't that fleeting bolt of inspiration, but the quiet discipline you cultivate and faithfully adhere to each day. Even if no one sees it, even if no one applauds your efforts, you'll know you're building a new life with your own hands.
That internal validation.
Exactly. After a month, you simply won't be the same person. Not because you did anything grand or showy, but because you consistently did small things with full intention. You'll feel this surge of inner power, waking with meaning, purpose, and knowing your time is just too valuable to give away to unimportant things. This is the real power of discipline cultivated in quietude, a space where your true potential can shine like never before.
And a significant part of this transformation in quietude, it seems, involves reducing excessive caring about what others think.
Oh, huge.
The core idea here is that over-caring about others' opinions deeply undermines your personal power and your ability to truly develop yourself. What we mean by this is valuing others' thoughts, their feelings, or their acceptance more than your own.
Yeah, putting them first constantly.
Right, often changing your decisions or goals just to please them, even if it completely contradicts your own desires and deeply held values. While empathy is, of course, a wonderful and necessary thing.
Virtual.
When it leads to you not daring to be yourself, or not being able to say no when you need to, or abandoning your true desires simply for fear of disapproval, then it truly becomes a problem, a major roadblock.
Absolutely. It creates immense internal stress, pressure, and just confusion because you're simply not living authentically. You're living a version of yourself for others.
And that's critical for growth, isn't it? That authenticity.
It is. True growth absolutely requires choosing your own path, even if it seems strange or slower or just different to others. When you overcare, you constantly adjust yourself for others' comfort, often at a significant personal cost that they don't even realize you're paying.
They have no idea.
None. If this becomes a habit, you drift further and further from your true self, eventually feeling lost and unsure of what you truly want because you're so conditioned to do what others expect.
So how do we redefine those relationships in a healthier way? Because connection is still important, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about becoming isolated hermits.
Not at all. It's important to redefine relationships here. Love, friendships, social connection, these things don't mean you must always agree or change yourself to please others. That's not real connection. Expressing differing views or choosing a path others don't understand isn't inherently wrong. In fact, it's often standing by your beliefs and values, and that is the starting point of inner stability. The benefits of caring less about external opinions are actually immense. You'll feel more inner freedom, you'll make confident decisions that aren't tied to external approval, and you'll have the crucial space to make mistakes, learn from them, and grow without that constant fear of criticism.
This sounds lighter.
It is. This builds profound inner strength and self-guidance. Your mental health improves dramatically from reducing all that unnecessary pressure. You realize you don't need to be good in everyone's eyes or waste precious energy explaining yourself constantly. And ironically, the quality of your relationships often improves.
How so?
You'll likely have fewer people around, perhaps, but those who remain will be the ones who are truly comfortable with the real you and genuinely supportive.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly. The logical implication is clear. If you rely heavily on others' thoughts, your life is constantly subject to uncontrollable external changes, their moods, their opinions, their judgments. But if you rely primarily on your own thoughts and values, your life becomes far more stable because you truly control your own actions and take full responsibility for the outcomes.
Owning it.
Owning it. Reducing this habit during quiet time, even for just a month, helps you see the world more clearly, see yourself more confidently, and live more aligned with your own heart every single day. And that clarity, the one that comes from reducing all that external noise, is incredibly fertile ground for new ideas. This is point 1.5. New ideas tend to flourish in relaxation and quiet, not through forced thinking or brainstorming under pressure.
Right, you can't force creativity.
You really can't. Silence provides this powerful space for the brain to connect old thoughts and create genuinely novel ones. Think of it like defragging a computer hard drive, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
When you're constantly feeding it new information, it's just storing stuff frantically. But in quiet, it starts organizing, linking unrelated things, and finding new pathways. Psychologists widely agree that truly creative ideas often emerge when the brain is not directly focused on a task. Like when you're showering, taking a walk, or simply sitting still.
The classic shower thoughts.
Exactly. This activates what's called the default mode network. Now, without getting too technical, think of the default mode network as your brain's internal exploration team. Instead of focusing on external tasks, it's freely surveying and connecting stored information in unique, often surprising ways.
So it's like our brain goes into this deep background processing mode where we're not actively bombarding it with external stimuli. That's fascinating. Is there, like, science to back this up beyond just anecdotes?
Oh, absolutely. There's strong scientific backing for this. For instance, research from the University of California back in 2014 showed that just 10 to 15 minutes of undisturbed quiet time led to participants coming up with more creative and effective solutions to problems.
Only 10, 15 minutes?
Yep. And a Harvard Business School study in 2020 found that senior executives who dedicated just a few minutes daily to quiet reflection made more accurate decisions and thought more innovatively than those constantly immersed in data and meetings.
So it's not just about feeling better, it's about better performance.
Exactly. So why is silence so key? Quiet time isn't just physical rest. It's creating an internal mental space where existing information can truly interact and synthesize. This simply cannot happen when the brain is overwhelmed by speed, external noise, or constant screen distractions. Creativity, genuinely, cannot thrive in chaotic environments.
Okay, but why a month? That seems like a long commitment. Is there something special about 30 days?
That's a fair question. The 1 month isn't really about the specific number of days being some kind of magic bullet. It's more about the consistent process of naturally slowing down the brain's and life's frantic rhythm.
Ah, okay. The
Da- da- da.
consistency.
Right. When you stop consuming information constantly, your brain gradually shifts from a reactive survival mode, which relies on fast, often shallow responses, to an exploration mode, which is calm, deep, and focused on making long-term connections. This adjustment simply takes time. The brain, which has become accustomed to instant responses and gratification, needs quiet as a catalyst and consistency as fuel to return to these deeper, more generative functions.
That makes sense. It needs reprogramming time.
Precisely.
Mm.
Further research from Stanford University actually found that intentionally allowing yourself to be bored, meaning no phone, no external stimuli, stimulates parts of the brain related to long-term problem solving, leading to genuinely new solutions for life or even business ideas.
Embracing boredom, that's countercultural.
Very. And the University of Amsterdam confirmed that regular solitude significantly increases self-reflection, which is fundamentally the starting point for unique ideas, not just recycling or following what everyone else is doing.
Oh.
So the result of this consistent quiet, say over a month, is essentially a system reset for your brain. It habituates deep thinking, turning creative ability into a consistent trait, not just some random occurrence. You'll start noticing thoughts you never had before, seeing solutions where there seem to be only dead ends, and maybe even daring to act on your own ideas, not just what the world expects. New ideas aren't solely about talent or sudden inspiration. They're often the natural result of a rested, reorganized, and liberated brain, all profoundly possible when you bravely step away from the chaos and truly embrace silence. This month could literally unearth life-changing ideas for you.
Okay, so we've really explored the inner transformations silence can bring, that profound shift in how we think, how we prioritize, how we connect with ourselves. It's quite deep.
Yeah.
Now let's pivot a bit and look at how this philosophy actually manifests in the lives of truly capable people externally.
How it shows up in the world.
Exactly. Our sources suggest that these individuals aren't quiet because they have nothing to say, far from it, but rather because they understand the immense power of saving their energy, of speaking only when it truly matters. It's about being deliberate and impactful in every action, whether that's spoken or unspoken.
And that brings us neatly to the first point of external impact,
Right.
what we're calling brain over mouth, the power of deliberate speech. The core idea here is that thinking before speaking profoundly shapes your life path and your impact on everyone around you.
Seems obvious, but maybe not practiced much.
Exactly. There's a stark difference, you see, between someone who truly uses their brain before their mouth and someone who just talks without considering the consequences. Words, after all, are a subtle yet incredibly powerful force that can quietly alter life paths, sometimes irrevocably.
Yeah.
Those who think before speaking create this small but absolutely crucial gap between an emotion and their expression of it. This space is invaluable. It prevents them from impulsive outbursts, saying things they regret, or damaging relationships unintentionally.
I see that all the time. People just reacting instantly, emotionally, without any filter. What's the real world consequence of that constant reaction?
Well, in the real world, you often see people who might be eloquent, but perhaps not wise, or talkative, but lacking real substance, or simply those who speak without thinking, creating significant problems for themselves, maybe hurting loved ones deeply, being constantly misunderstood, or even destroying opportunities they've worked incredibly hard for.
Yeah, shooting themselves in the foot.
Constantly. Careless speech isn't just impolite, it's actually a way of living without regard for impact, slowly but surely eroding trust, opportunities, and personal credibility. The power of words is just immense. A single thoughtless word can destroy years of built-up trust.
Fingers gone in a second.
Gone. A sarcastic comment can drive talented people away from you or your team. A dismissive remark can absolutely crush someone's spirit. The speaker who doesn't think before talking often doesn't realize the immense, almost echoing power of their words and how what they release into the world can return to them amplified, often negatively. In stark contrast, the quiet achiever, those who consistently use their brain before their mouth, may not speak often, but every single word they utter is carefully chosen for its intended effect. They don't speak to win arguments, necessarily, but to truly understand.
Different goal.
Completely different goal. Not to vent emotion, but maybe to transform the situation. They choose silence when they know they should listen, and they choose to speak only when their words can truly create positive impact. Such individuals often gain trust and acceptance almost effortlessly. When they do speak, people lean in and listen because they know their words carry genuine weight and consideration.
So how do we actually cultivate this habit? It sounds like it requires a lot of self-control, especially in heated moments.
It does. It requires practice, but it starts simply. A really practical practice is to consciously pause. Just pause for 2 or 3 seconds before responding immediately.
Like a mental speed bump.
Exactly. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say necessary? What will it create? Or is this just me needing to release some emotion? Consistent practice turns this pause into a natural habit. When you know you're speaking with intention, your communication becomes sharper, more powerful, and leads to far deeper, more meaningful relationships. And crucially, don't confuse this deliberate silence with apathy or not caring. For thoughtful speakers, silence is a safe space to manage emotions and choose quality words. In this age of instant social media opinions, where words have unprecedented speed and reach,
Impermanence.
and permanence, yes. Those who think before they type or comment use that pause to create value, and that sets them profoundly apart. Compare 2 potential life paths. One driven by emotional outburst, constantly leading to conflict and a damaged reputation. The other choosing silence strategically, speaking only when appropriate, gaining trust and seizing opportunities. Your behavior isn't just personal, it impacts everyone around you. Choosing thoughtful caution makes you a part of progress, both personally and socially.
That's a really important frame.
People who use their brain more than their mouth aren't afraid. They simply know words are a double-edged sword. Used correctly, they can build bridges, inspire, change the world. Used wrongly, even soft words can shatter someone's world. Understanding this profound power leads to choosing silence or truly impactful words, creating a much more stable, purposeful life.
That's a powerful distinction. And closely related to that deliberate speech is focusing on your own goals, not
Yeah.
constantly looking sideways at others' eyes.
Yes, huge.
The core idea here is that many capable individuals fail, not from a lack of ability, but from living to satisfy others' expectations rather than truly following their own internal path. We're often conditioned from childhood, aren't we?
Yeah.
To please parents, teachers,
It
peers.
starts early.
It really does. This leads us to spend vital energy creating an image others want to see, rather than diligently building the life we truly desire. Constantly viewing ourselves through others' eyes is this subtle, insidious trap that slowly erodes self-confidence.
It's such an insidious cycle. Every decision becomes prefaced by, What will people think? Will they like it? Will they laugh at me? Instead of the real questions. Do I truly want this? Is it important for my life?
Right. The internal questions get silenced.
They do. This leads to hesitation, half-hearted pursuits, and ultimately that awful feeling of self-blame for not being good enough when the real problem was simply being too distracted by external noise and judgment.
And what's the root of that? Why do we care so much?
Well, the deep reason for valuing external opinions so highly isn't usually weakness. Fundamentally, it's often a very basic human desire for love and acceptance. We learn early on that success brings praise, and failure often brings criticism or disappointment.
Conditioned response.
Exactly. And social media, of course, just amplifies this fear of judgment to an extreme degree, 24/7. This makes us feel we must be good enough in others' eyes before we can even dare to believe in ourselves. But the more we live for others' gaze, the more alienated we become from our true selves. Our own goals fade, our dreams dim, and all our precious energy is spent just avoiding criticism instead of building a life we truly believe in.
So how do you break free from that? How do you genuinely refocus on your own goals when that pressure is so pervasive?
To refocus your mind on your own goals, you first have to accept a fundamental truth, which can be hard.
Yeah.
You cannot control others' thoughts or words, ever.
Nope.
But you absolutely can control your own actions, your intentions, and your goals. So practice quiet self-questioning daily. Am I doing this for my life's purpose or simply for someone else's approval? And critically, as we mentioned, reduce your social media consumption, that comparison engine. Seek out supportive environments, people who affirm your authentic self, not just the image.
Yeah, finding your tribe.
Finding your tribe. Think of a river. It flows relentlessly through mountains, cliffs, waterfalls, rocks, and sticky mud. It never stops, it never argues with the obstacles, it never turns back from a high waterfall, and never questions the mud or complains about it. It just keeps flowing because it knows its destination is the sea.
Undeterred.
Undeterred. Likewise, a person with clear internal goals, even when they fall or face insults or wade through the mud of failure, doesn't stop. They know their path doesn't need external validation. Reaching their chosen destination is enough.
The internal compass again.
Exactly. The outcome comparison between these two approaches is stark. Living for others' eyes is utterly exhausting. You're constantly adjusting yourself to be perfect, forgetting you're human. Living for your own goals, though perhaps slower or less flashy in the short term, builds profound inner stability. You may fall, but you rise again because you know your purpose. Those who've fallen become stronger, learning patience and understanding imperfection. Those who've faced criticism understand that others' words aren't your life's final judgment, but merely a test of your heart's resolve.
That's a great reframe.
So when you find yourself swayed by others, look deeper into your goal. Why did you start this? Where are you truly going? What are you willing to sacrifice for it? You'll find that external words, no matter how loud they seem, cannot compare to the unwavering voice of a heart with clear purpose. And this self-focus, this internal drive, often extends to how capable people approach socializing. It becomes strategic socializing, which really means investing your time wisely.
Okay, what does that look like?
Well, the core idea here is that excessive, aimless socializing can actually be a silent trap that drains your energy and ultimately derails your personal path. Many people genuinely believe that extensive socializing, saying yes to everything, inevitably leads to growth and connection.
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. However, frequently engaging without a clear purpose, attending every single invitation, feeling obligated to reply to every chat instantly, staying in unfulfilling groups just to avoid being different, that can slowly consume your energy, your time, and subtly pull you away from your own path.
It feels busy, but maybe not productive.
Precisely. In the short term, it might even feel like rest or connection, a distraction. But if it becomes an aimless routine, it's not empowering. It's often just a way to escape inner emptiness or avoid facing yourself. Such socializing doesn't truly enrich or expand your potential. It often reinforces feelings of lack and leaves absolutely no time for truly important life-building activities.
That's a powerful distinction you made earlier. Emptiness fleeing socializing.
Yeah.
So how do you know the difference? What's the key indicator between that and, genuinely good connection?
The key distinction between empowering socializing and emptiness fleeing socializing is simply how you feel afterward. Pay attention to that. If you feel refreshed, inspired, energized, or you gain new ideas or perspectives, it's likely genuine growth.
Huh.
But if you consistently feel drained, bored, or like you had to put on a performance, that's a clear sign that you're probably with people or in situations that are subtly consuming your energy. Remember, time and energy are finite resources. They're precious.
Undoubtedly.
You have to rigorously discern between investing your time and simply wasting it. Choosing social circles that align with your values, that foster constructive conversations, and offer genuine support that's a worthwhile investment, even if those interactions are infrequent.
Right.
Conversely, being in groups that force pretense, require you to say things you don't genuinely mean, or where you stay only out of fear of being different or being excluded, that is exchanging your vital life energy for short-term fear avoidance at a significant long-term cost to yourself.
That's a heavy price.
It is. And embracing solitude, choosing to spend more time alone, isn't isolation. It's actually giving more time and attention to your inner self. Quiet solitude allows you to clearly hear your heart, organize your life, heal from emotional impacts, and plan your path systematically and thoughtfully. Many incredibly successful people didn't achieve greatness through constant networking events. They achieved it through focused, quiet work in their own peaceful space.
Deep work.
Deep work. Alone time helps clarify your goals and reveals if you're deviating from them, as that constant social noise can so easily make you forget your own objectives and dreams. To maintain relationships without excessive socializing, shift your focus from frequent casual encounters to quality interactions, deep conversations, genuinely sharing perspectives, authentic expressions of care. Relationships aren't measured by frequency, but by understanding, sincerity, and authentic presence in important moments.
Makes sense.
Consider a historical parallel. Think of companies that collapsed because their executives were utterly obsessed with public image and networking while completely neglecting internal warnings about fundamental problems in their business.
Yeah, focusing outward, ignoring the inside.
Exactly. They wasted precious time satisfying external parties instead of listening to their own systems. Similarly, think about many teens addicted to social media, driven by that fear of missing out. They often feel increasingly empty and confused because their time, which should be for self-discovery, is spent chasing glimpses of others' lives, leaving them unsure of their own desires and values. So, in conclusion, not all socializing is valuable, and certainly not all quietness is sad or lonely. Those who strategically withdraw from chaotic social circles to build their own life with intention often achieve far more stable growth because they build based on their own internal rhythm and deeply understand the true value of every minute spent nurturing their own dreams.
That's a brilliant insight. And it ties directly into this next idea. Doing everything quietly but changing your life significantly as a result.
Yes.
The core idea here is that acting quietly without needing constant announcements or seeking praise is this incredibly powerful force driven purely by inner intention and discipline. When you don't feel the need to announce your actions, you free yourself from worrying about others' interest or their potential judgment.
That pressure is gone.
It's gone. This allows you to fully concentrate on the work itself without diverting precious energy to image building or explaining unfinished tasks or justifying your process. Quiet action lets the results speak for themselves, allowing time to do its work without you rushing it. You truly come to believe that the quality of change depends on continuity, depth, and sincerity, not on external applause.
Exactly. Take someone who quietly starts exercising every single morning without posting a single gym selfie or status update about it.
Radical.
Right. They might not be noticed initially at all, but after, say, 3 months, their improved physique, their increased energy, maybe their better mood become undeniably evident to others. Why? Because they acted out of genuine self-belief and commitment, not because they needed external cheerleading to keep going.
So the motivation is internal.
Purely internal. The benefits of this approach are clear. It protects you from being swayed by external noise or feeling rushed to be seen or perform. Not seeking praise keeps you from depending on external validation, which is never as lasting or as meaningful as the deep, quiet pride of knowing you truly accomplished something through your own consistent efforts. When success comes without prior announcement, it feels far more solid, more real, because it wasn't built for show, but from a genuine desire for self-improvement or achieving a personal goal.
I think it's crucial, though, to distinguish this quiet action from just being shy or having a fear of failure, because they can look similar on the surface, can't they? Someone just not putting themselves out there.
Absolutely. That's a critical distinction. This quiet, purposeful action is profoundly different from shyness or fear of failure. Someone afraid of failure might avoid action altogether or be very half-hearted. using quietness as a kind of shield to hide behind. But someone who acts quietly has a clear goal. They're not hiding. They are strategically channeling their energy into building solid internal evidence of progress before they grow into the public eye, so to speak. Those who hide remain stuck in indecision, maybe analysis paralysis, while those who act quietly take steady, consistent steps, knowing they're getting closer to their goal even if nobody else sees it yet.
So how do you know the difference in yourself? How can you tell if you're acting quietly or just hiding?
That's a great self-reflection question. You know you're acting for a goal, not just hiding, when your days have a clear direction, even if it's just a small one, when you consistently perform intentional tasks related to that goal. And when you see internal development, for example, you notice your mindless phone scrolling time is being replaced by reading or exercise, or maybe repetitive anxious thoughts are being replaced by planning or practicing a skill. These might seem small to others, maybe invisible, but you know you're genuinely transforming.
That internal scoreboard.
Exactly. Think of a real-life anecdote. Maybe a young man who repeatedly failed his exams but never complained publicly or blamed anyone. He quietly reread the books, worked on changing his mindset, studied methodically in solitude. A year later, maybe he gets into a top university. No one saw his late-night struggles or his quiet tears of frustration, but he knew. And that internal knowing, that commitment, was enough to propel him further than anyone externally might have expected. So, to cultivate quiet action, set clear goals, and dedicate disciplined time, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Log your daily progress privately, even if it feels like just 1%. Tell yourself it's simply not time to share yet. The results will eventually speak for themselves. Reward yourself internally for progress, forgive the inevitable slips, and just return to the fight without needing external reminders or praise.
Let's run through a quick example just to make that really concrete.
Okay, imagine you start with just 15 minutes of exercise daily, really small. In the first month, you might only lose 1 kilogram, maybe not even noticeable to others.
Right. Easy to get discouraged.
Very easy. But by month 6, through consistent quiet effort, you might lose 8 kilograms, have significantly more stamina, clearer breathing, a much better mood, maybe improved health metrics like blood pressure and blood sugar, and deeper, more restful sleep. You might feel like you've gone from maybe 40% health to 80%. All this happened without a single social media post or anyone else necessarily knowing the daily grind. But your body and your inner feelings, they affirm the true progress, the real praise.
An intrinsic reward.
Exactly. It's like a tiny seed. It seems worthless initially, colorless, soundless, maybe unappealing, but it never wastes time explaining itself or its potential. It just waits patiently for rain, for sunlight, and when its time comes, it sprouts, grows into a mighty tree, providing shade and fruit, a living testament to patience and quiet work, achieved without uttering a single word of its plans. So don't fear the silence, don't fear starting alone or being unseen for a while. If you have a goal, act consistently and are patient. Your results will eventually be loud enough for the world to hear, without you ever having to shout about them. And all of these quiet actions, these consistent, unannounced efforts, they build into something truly profound over time. A sustainable new life structure. This is key.
Structure, not just goals.
Exactly. The core idea is that sustainable life change isn't just about setting grand goals alone. It's about deeply restructuring your daily life with a stable foundation. A goal is a destination, right? Like wanting to earn $1 million, or lose 20 pounds, or get that promotion. But the life structure is the road you build and maintain to get there. It's your daily time usage, your repeated positive behaviors, the systems you consciously put in place to keep yourself on track, and crucially, that inner mindset that ensures you won't just relapse back into old patterns once you hit the goal or face a setback.
Right, making it stick.
Making it stick. To build sustainably, don't start with overwhelming, drastic changes that require massive willpower. Begin with small daily actions that don't rely solely on fleeting inspiration. Things like waking up consistently, maybe eating more mindfully, tracking your expenses, putting away your phone an hour before bed, and deeply listening to your inner self about what genuinely lightens your life and what drains it. These small actions gradually and sustainably reshape your entire system from the ground up.
So it's really about building those fundamental habits, not just chasing the shiny outcomes. What are the core pillars of that sustainable structure?
Precisely, habits over hacks. A sustainable structure generally rests on 4 critical pillars. First, well-managed time, recognizing it's finite and consciously choosing where it goes. Second, mindful money, you seeing it as a tool for your future, not just for immediate gratification. Third, prioritized health, acknowledging it as your absolute capacity for everything else you want to do and be. And fourth, A mind that understands itself and knows how to recover from stress, building resilience, not just waiting for burnout.
Time, money, health, mind. The big four.
The big four. Time is that finite resource. You must bravely cut out the unnecessary drains. Money isn't just for living day to day, it's a tool for freedom, for options, for the future. Health is your absolute capacity for everything: energy, focus, enjoyment. And your mind needs proactive care beyond just treating illness. It needs resilience, space for processing, techniques for rebuilding after stress.
Hmm.
The trap so many fall into is starting with a burst of inspiration but then falling back into old patterns because they only address the symptoms, not the underlying structure. For instance, joining a gym but not changing their poor sleep habits so they're too tired to go. Or buying expensive investment courses but not improving their daily spending discipline so they have nothing left to invest.
Right. Tackling the surface, not the root.
Exactly. A goal without a supporting structure is like erecting a tall building without a solid foundation. It might look impressive for a short while, but it will eventually quietly collapse, often causing more pain and discouragement than the first time you tried.
Yeah, that failure can feel even worse.
It really can. Consider a real-life anecdote. Maybe a 35-year-old man who felt like he'd failed in his career, his relationships, and had accumulated significant debt. Feeling on the brink, he sat quietly one day and asked himself, if I could start over, how would I want to change my daily life? He didn't set grand, ambitious goals like become a millionaire by 40.
No.
No. Instead, he started incredibly small. He started by just making his bed every single morning, not checking his phone until after his shower, quitting sugary coffee, walking just 10 minutes a day, and logging every single expense, no matter how small. He did just this consistently for 6 months until he felt his life wasn't fundamentally chaotic anymore. That's when he dared to set new, bigger goals, but this time without the underlying fear of collapse, because he'd built a foundation.
Wow, that's powerful, starting with the basics.
The absolute basics. Many people feel overwhelmed by external expectations and haunted by past failures. But the message here is that today, right now, you have the right and the ability to create a new voice within you, a voice of quiet inner stability saying, I am quietly building a new, strong foundation for my life. One day, you'll look back and thank yourself profoundly for laying that foundation, not for show, not for anyone else, but so you never have to live in the shadow of regret again.
So far, we've explored how inner quietness can truly transform your personal life, your relationship with yourself. And we've seen how capable individuals leverage this internal state for their external impact. We've seen how internal clarity and deliberate action can really change your trajectory. Now let's dive even deeper into the nuanced art of strategic quietness, this idea of mastering the unseen, understanding when to be silent, how to let your actions speak louder than words, and the profound strength that comes from not needing to prove anything to anyone.
Yes, this is where it gets subtle but very powerful. This brings us to a crucial point. Calmness as a shield, choosing not to engage. The core idea here is that choosing calmness over jumping into an argument isn't weakness. It's actually a powerful act of self-control and, really importantly, energy protection.
Energy protection, I like that.
Some people remain calm instead of arguing, not because they're giving up or don't have a response, but because they fundamentally understand that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every accusation needs an immediate defensive response. And certainly not every loud noise requires a swift reply from you. They've often experienced intense situations in the past, maybe arguments that went nowhere, and learned the hard way that words simply cannot change minds that are unwilling to understand in that moment. So they choose calmness to protect their own precious energy, knowing that constant engagement in pointless arguments just drains them of time and fuels unnecessary stress and resentment.
But isn't there a risk, though, that people will mistake that calmness for weakness, or think you're just letting yourself be walked all over? That seems like a common fear.
It is a very common misconception, absolutely. Many people do mistake calmness for weakness or submission or allowing oneself to be trampled, but in reality, being profoundly calm when others are angry, shouting, or misunderstanding you is often a sign of true self-mastery. Think about it. The natural human response to challenge is immediate retaliation. Your emotional brain, the amygdala, triggers that fight-or-flight defense instantly before you even think.
Yeah, that knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly. But the person who can stay calm in that fire has managed to override that primal instinct. They are refusing to let others' anger pull their own heart into the chaos. That takes strength.
Okay, I see that.
And calmness in the face of expected retaliation is incredibly powerful strategically, too. It actually deprives the aggressor of the reaction they expect, the mirror for their anger. It can make them pause and question their own words or behavior. Some may even feel guilty afterwards, or back down, or later understand that your silence wasn't a lack of words, but a deliberate, powerful choice.
Hmm?
Calmness becomes this quiet ripple that can sometimes transform aggression into acceptance without you ever uttering the word yield or getting drawn into the mud.
But it has to be authentic calmness, right? Not just bottling it up.
Absolutely critical point.
Right.
But this powerful calmness differs significantly from just hiding from problems or suppressing your feelings. If your silence causes you inner pain, if it feels like you're just swallowing rage or resentment, then it's not strength, it's suppression, and that's harmful long term. Powerful calmness must be conscious and chosen. You are calm because you're confident in the truth, perhaps, or because you say clearly that words are unproductive in this specific situation, or crucially, because you value your inner energy and peace far more than winning that particular argument.
So how do you cultivate that authentic calmness then, especially under pressure? What are some practical steps people can take?
It takes practice, like any skill. First, practice listening to your own thoughts and feelings before reacting. When you feel attacked, train yourself to take a deep breath. Create that pause. Observe angry people without immediately feeling inferior or letting their anger infect you. You see it as their issue, not necessarily yours. Consciously work on letting your rational mind, your prefrontal cortex, override those immediate emotional urges from the amygdala. And fundamentally, believe deeply that calmness, in the long run, will take you further and preserve you better than any heated argument ever could. Here's a real-life example that illustrates this. A housekeeper was being unfairly yelled at by her employer, even called stupid, for forgetting to clean a small table. Instead of defending herself or yelling back, she calmly smiled, picked up her cloth, and just continued wiping the table without saying a word.
Wow, that takes composure.
Incredible composure. Everyone else present fell silent, the tension shifted. 2 days later, the owner, clearly perplexed by her reaction, apologized and asked how she endured such unfairness so calmly. The housekeeper simply replied, "I was insulted much worse when I was a child, but now I don't want to use the same angry response with someone who doesn't understand." Incredibly powerful. That impactful truth revealed that her calmness wasn't surrender at all. It was winning the battle over her own emotions when the other person was still completely controlled by theirs. The key insight here is this. The loudest person in the room may well be the least confident, while the calmest person often possesses the deepest dignity and strength. Calmness might not instantly change an external situation, but it profoundly changes the quality of the person you are becoming. To grow and thrive in this noisy world, you must learn to be steadily quiet sometimes, not to erase others, but to preserve your own inner peace amidst any storm.
That's a truly profound way to think about it.
Right.
And it leads us perfectly to another observation about capable individuals. Often, he or she doesn't talk much, but they do a lot.
Action speaks louder.
Exactly. The core idea here is that some capable individuals choose not to speak excessively because they fundamentally understand that words on their own don't change reality, only action truly does. They might have previously been quite talkative, maybe dreamed aloud a lot, or constantly announced their intentions.
Been there, done that, maybe.
Right. But facing disappointment, or dismissive comments, or even hurtful words when their dreams were still just fragile ideas, taught them a powerful lesson. That words are not always a safe or effective tool until concrete action has actually been taken. This quietness stems not from apathy or lack of ambition, but from a profound understanding that true, lasting change begins with quiet, consistent action, often without announcement, without needing praise, or even asking for permission.
It's a truly contrarian approach in today's world, isn't it? In a world where most people seem to strive for eloquent speech, impressive online displays, and broadcasting every single fleeting dream or intention.
Yeah, performative productivity sometimes.
Exactly. Choosing silence and diligent action becomes increasingly compelling. It's rare, it's different, and it's powerfully effective without needing to make a sound. Not speaking much, but doing a lot communicates through consistent, weighty, and trustworthy actions much more effectively than any fancy words ever could. Action clearly defines who someone is, eventually eliminating the need for exhausting self-explanation or self-promotion. With consistent action, confidence naturally builds from within, not from external validation. Others gain trust because they see your actions consistently align with your words when you do speak, leading to more stable relationships, steady cumulative success, and a life that's less affected by fleeting external opinions. This quiet power endures, even in our very loud, show-off world, Many achieve great things without a large social media following or endless captions or daily look at me posts. They build a quiet strength that permeates deeper and lasts longer than shouting ever could. They simply know that when the time is right, their results will speak volumes for themselves, requiring no lengthy explanation from them.
It sounds like a challenging path, though.
Mhm.
I keep coming back to this. What about the moments of loneliness or self-doubt when you're working quietly, unseen, maybe for a long time, when no one knows the effort you're putting in?
You're absolutely right to raise that this path isn't easy. It's often not the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
There's usually no cheering squad, often no one to acknowledge the daily grind, the small wins, and certainly no applause when you inevitably fall or stumble. You'll likely face periods of loneliness, discouragement, and waves of self-doubt, perhaps repeatedly. Some days you'll genuinely question the meaning of your efforts or wonder if you're completely lost.
Yeah.
But the insight here is that it's often in that very silence during those tough moments that you'll start hearing that small inner voice we talked about earlier, not loud but firm, saying, "Don't stop, keep going." It's a voice of quiet hope that doesn't demand external attention, only that you keep believing in yourself and the process.
So how do you cultivate that? How do you become someone who acts more than just dreams aloud?
First, stop valuing premature praise. Get comfortable with the idea of the work being its own reward, at least initially. Practice doing things without telling anyone first. Set small, achievable goals and complete just one daily, building momentum. Build systems that don't rely on your mood, for example, keeping a private daily progress log without sharing it, or committing to just 10 minutes of focused morning action towards a long-term goal before the day gets crazy. Consistency slowly becomes discipline, and discipline inevitably becomes results. And when you start seeing those tangible results, even small ones, you won't need to say anything. They'll prove to you and eventually to others that action is always the best answer.
Can you use a concrete example?
Sure. Consider Cristiano Ronaldo. He didn't necessarily start with the most exceptional natural talent compared to some others, but he cultivated unparalleled discipline from a young age. He trained harder, longer, more consistently than almost anyone. He rarely spoke publicly about his grand dreams, letting every single match, every goal be his answer. His childhood disappointments, the early loss of his father, the loneliness of moving away from home, these difficult experiences became quiet fuel for relentless training, turning him into a global legend of discipline and achievement. His actions spoke far louder than any interview ever could.
That's a great example of channeling hardship into action.
Exactly. Sometimes silence isn't a lack of words, but a conscious choice not to speak yet, knowing that what you're building quietly is far greater and more substantial than any mere utterance could convey. Silence isn't weakness. It's consolidating inner power for stable, impactful steps forward. Those who act more than they speak clearly see their destination and are prepared to walk the path to reach it, without needing constant external cheers, believing that in that focused silence, a world-changing power often resides. And building directly on that, when someone chooses not to speak often, it's frequently because every word they do choose to speak is incredibly well considered. They aren't just reacting.
Intentionality again.
Complete intentionality. These individuals don't lack things to say, not at all. Instead, they assign immense value to every single word, thinking deeply before they speak and often allowing their actions to carry the greater weight of their message. They prioritize the impact of their words over the sheer volume. If a thought isn't clear, if it's not truly refined or necessary, they simply remain silent. For them, words are not just sounds. They are akin to promises, they carry responsibilities, and they are reflections of one's true self and integrity.
Words as promises.
Yes. Their silence is intentional, born from a deep respect for their own thoughts and, importantly, for the listener's feelings and time. They often use actions as the primary form of speech, a more powerful, undeniable, and often more truthful kind of communication. They don't feel the need to rush to express themselves or prove their point immediately because they believe sincerity, genuine character emerges clearly over time. They don't need immediate belief from others. They act quietly and let their work, their consistency speak for itself eventually.
What's the underlying attitude there? Is it confidence? Prudence?
It's often a combination. The attitude behind those who speak little but do much is frequently one of profound depth, careful prudence, and unwavering focus on their goals. They may have been more talkative in the past, maybe learned some hard lessons, but with maturity, they learned that real action, consistent action, creates real change in the world, while talk often dissipates. They choose to channel their internal energy into tangible outcomes rather than letting it scatter into fleeting ideas or unproductive conversations. Their thoughts tend to flow from deep within, quietly accumulate, get refined through careful consideration, and then translate into firm, unhurried, yet resolute action.
That's such a stark contrast, as you said, to modern society, where everyone seems to be talking constantly, broadcasting everything. How do these quiet actors thrive or even survive in that kind of environment?
It's true. Modern society often emphasizes loudness, constant display, and bold self-expression almost as virtues in themselves. And while the most eloquent or loudest might gain some short-term advantages or attention,
Yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
sometimes, yes, but those who speak little but act genuinely tend to build far more stable, enduring lives and reputations. Their every action springs from a deep inner process, not a reaction to external pressure. They remain relatively unfazed by fleeting compliments, unmoved by temporary applause. They spend their precious time doing what truly matters to their own hearts and aligns with their values. Such individuals often have immense long-term growth potential because their progress isn't dependent on fickle external validation or words, but on the unwavering quality of their thoughts and their consistent action.
So how can someone listening cultivate this trait if they feel they talk too much or speak without thinking?
It starts with self-observation. Constantly observe your own mind and impulses. Before speaking, especially in important situations, consciously insert that pause we discussed. Ask yourself, am I speaking now to vent an emotion or to genuinely create action or clarity? If you haven't actually started acting on something yet, perhaps keep the words to yourself for now and just begin the action first. Make one small step. Then speak only when there's something tangible, some progress, however small, to show or discuss. Daily practice connects your thinking and doing more tightly over time. Then, when you do choose to speak, your words will naturally carry far more power because they'll be rooted in real experience, not just mere imagination or intention.
The experience gives words weight.
Absolutely. Think of life like a book with many chapters, some bright, some somber, some seemingly very quiet and uneventful. But every moment, every page holds meaning if you look closely. Some people want to talk about the grand ending right from the first chapter.
Yeah, spoiling the plot.
Exactly, but the silent doer, they read page by page, understanding chapter by chapter, even if some chapters are long, difficult, or seem boring to outsiders. They don't skip pages, knowing true understanding comes from experiencing the whole story, the whole process. They don't rush to show off the ending. They actually find satisfaction in creating the story themselves day by day.
Are there famous examples of this?
Definitely. Think of someone like Kentaro Miura, the legendary creator of the Berserk manga. He rarely appeared in public, almost never spoke about his inspiration or process. He spent his entire adult life quietly drawing, every single line and shadow refined through deep, silent thought and iteration, creating this incredibly complex, influential, legendary work that profoundly changed readers all over the globe. Similarly, maybe Satoshi Tajiri, the Japanese inventor behind Pokemon. He worked quietly for years in his small room, developing technology and concepts no one else thought possible at the time. These individuals rarely spoke about their ambitions, but everything they did, the results of their quiet work, is remembered and has had lasting impact.
So the work speaks.
The work speaks. Those who choose silence aren't afraid to speak. They simply choose to speak primarily through genuine action. They value what they do far more than what they say. They see life as a book to be written authentically from the heart, page by page, not a script to be memorized and performed for others. Their quietness isn't hiding, it's embracing deep intention and gradually, patiently pushing it into reality, chapter by chapter, until their life story becomes so profound that no words can truly compare to what they've quietly created.
That brings us to another really powerful trait linked to this inner stability. Deliberately choosing not to compare yourself to anyone.
Oh, this is a game changer for so many.
It feels like it. The core idea here is that not comparing yourself to others is a direct pathway to true inner stability, freeing you to focus entirely on your own unique path and progress. Some capable individuals choose not to compare themselves, not because they've never felt envious or thought others are better, but precisely because they've experienced the intense pain of comparison firsthand.
They know how destructive it feels.
Exactly. They felt inadequate, maybe believed their own path was meaningless next to someone else's highlight reel, and then, crucially, they realized that their instability and unhappiness didn't come from their actual real-life problems, but from the act of constantly measuring themselves against others, forgetting completely how far they had already come on their own journey.
It's a breakthrough moment, often born from that pain, when they realize that even the fastest Olympic runner trains primarily focused on their own lane, their own technique, their own breathing, not constantly looking sideways at the adjacent lanes.
Right, you run your own race.
You run your own race. They understand that everyone's field, everyone's context, everyone's starting point and challenges are completely different. Comparison is like trying to race a boat against an airplane and then feeling inferior because you can't fly, when your gift, your purpose, was always to navigate the sea.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Not comparing yourself brings this profound inner calm, a sense of okayness with where you are right now. And that calm is the true starting point of mental stability. You stop judging yourself relentlessly by other standards or timelines, freed from those nagging, energy-draining questions like, they have that shiny thing, why don't I? Or why are they growing so much faster than me?
Yeah, releasing that constant pressure.
Immense pressure release. You
Yeah.
gain back so much time and mental energy to actually listen to your own inner voice again, asking those important internal questions. Where do I truly want to go? Why do I want to do this? Am I truly happy and aligned with who I am right now? Without the suffocating pressure of external expectations and comparisons, you can finally focus on excelling in your own unique way, not to defeat anyone else, but simply because it comes genuinely from your heart.
I think people often confuse looking at others for inspiration with falling into the comparison trap. That seems like a key distinction to make.
It really is a crucial distinction. People very often confuse healthy inspiration with toxic comparison. Inspiration is seeing others' light, their achievements, their qualities, and using it constructively to ignite your own potential. Comparison is seeing their light and then using it to extinguish your own flame because you think you can't possibly compete or measure up.
Ah, one builds you up, the other tears you down.
Precisely. The difference lies entirely in your internal attitude and how you process what you see. Inspiration empowers and motivates. Comparison drains and paralyzes. Understanding this distinction allows you to genuinely appreciate others, celebrate their successes without devaluing yourself, to see their beauty or skill without feeling a profound lack in your own life. Such individuals who grasp this still desire growth, absolutely, but not at the expense of their own self-worth or peace of mind.
So how do you practically train your mind to stop comparing, especially when social media makes it so easy and constant?
It takes conscious effort, like building any mental muscle. Train your mind with small, daily actions. For example, think about caring for a houseplant. You can't force it to grow faster, right? But you consistently water it, maybe fertilize it occasionally, provide the right light. You don't constantly uproot your neighbor's plant to compare root systems or see how fast theirs is growing.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, because you intuitively know a plant's value isn't in its speed relative to others, but in its own unique health, strength, and beauty. Similarly, in life, consistent self-care, focusing on your own watering and sunlight without constant comparison, quietly reveals your true, authentic growth over time. Even mundane daily tasks, like washing the dishes, though not for show or comparison, can instill vital discipline. Doing it well, unseen, confirms your own conscientiousness, your ability to care for your environment, even in small details. That builds self-respect.
That internal confirmation again.
Exactly. And there's one truth most people know deep down, but often avoid confronting. You're often not poor or stuck simply because you lack money or resources, but sometimes because you lack the courage to change your comparative mindset. Those who dare to stop comparing often find the courage to start from wherever they are with pride in their own journey. They aren't ashamed of not yet succeeding by external metrics, nor are they shaken by not having reached some arbitrary destination defined by others. They believe that merely taking one sincere step forward today constitutes real progress. Their happiness isn't tied to status or likes or who's ahead in some imaginary race, but to the deep inner certainty that I am good enough right now to keep going on my path.
Are there well-known examples of this non-comparative focus?
Sure. Think about Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. He was famously rejected from dozens of jobs, including KFC, early in his career. Yet, he didn't seem to constantly compare himself despairingly to friends who landed prestigious jobs with high salaries right away. He focused intently on his own beliefs, practiced his English, developed his ideas, often unseen and underestimated, until the world eventually recognized the massive value of what he built from practically nothing, driven by an unwavering internal compass.
Yeah, incredible perseverance.
Or think, on a different scale, of a grandmother who maybe sells just a few vegetables from her small garden at a local market. She likely never feels diminished comparing herself to large supermarkets. She finds joy and purpose in what she loves, doesn't compare, and probably sleeps soundly knowing she's done her honest work. Her measure of success is internal.
That's beautiful.
Happiness, true happiness, never comes from trying to live someone else's life or meet their standards. It comes from truly understanding and living authentically with yourself. Stop measuring your worth by others' eyes and start looking at yourself. Are you a little better, a little more aligned, a little more consistent than you were yesterday? Not perfect, just sincere and moving forward. Then happiness will quietly sprout in your heart like that growing tree, unseen perhaps at first, but destined eventually to provide shade you'll be deeply proud of. This self-reliance, this internal focus, also extends to a kind of calculated reserve, where the capable individual doesn't necessarily reveal all their weaknesses easily or to everyone.
Ah, this is interesting. Vulnerability is often promoted, right?
It is, and it's complex. The core idea here is that not easily revealing weaknesses isn't always about being closed off. It can be a conscious act of self-preservation, often stemming from past hurt and a wise, learned understanding of who to truly trust. Some individuals choose not to expose all their vulnerabilities, not out of arrogance or heartlessness, but because they've been genuinely hurt by doing so before.
They've perhaps revealed themselves in moments of vulnerability, maybe shared a struggle or a fear, only to be judged, criticized, or even pushed down further by someone who didn't hold that information kindly. They learned the hard way that vulnerability isn't safe everywhere or with everyone. Not everyone listens to understand. Some people, unfortunately, listen primarily to judge, to compare, or to draw superficial, often negative conclusions.
Right, or gossip.
Or gossip, exactly. So these capable individuals often become cautious. They choose consciously to keep some things to themselves, not necessarily because they fear opening up entirely, but because they love and respect themselves enough not to just throw their vulnerable hearts out there to potentially be crushed unnecessarily.
So it's a learned behavior, a protective shield built from experience. Precisely. This reluctance to reveal every weakness isn't necessarily a sign of callousness. It's often part of the journey of someone who has been vulnerable, perhaps too freely, and has chosen to protect themselves going forward in a way that really needs no external explanation or judgment. It's a shield forged from past experiences. While it might sometimes make them seem a bit distant or unapproachable to some,
Yeah, that's the potential downside.
it is. But it helps them survive and maintain focus in a world that can be quick to judge, quick to speak, and often listens only superficially. They remain focused on their tasks, maintaining enough inner peace to manage their own emotions without constantly needing comfort or validation from those who might not truly understand or care anyway. They learn to carry their own burdens quietly when necessary, possessing a kind of strength that doesn't need to be announced or constantly validated through sharing.
But then, as you hinted, is there a line? When does that self-preservation shield become an isolating wall that traps you in solitude? How do you know if you're protecting yourself or just cutting off connection?
That's the crucial question, the balancing act. This shield is a double-edged sword. We must ask ourselves, is this concealing primarily for safety and energy preservation? Or am I inadvertently building a wall so high that it traps me in loneliness? If not opening up at all leaves you with absolutely no one to talk to, feeling perpetually tired or weak internally, yet compelled to always pretend strength, that might be a sign that you're using your shield to hide from the possibility of genuine reciprocal connection. While it might protect you from being hurt by the wrong people, it also means no one truly gets to be by your side to see the real you. Appearing too strong, too invulnerable all the time can ironically make others think you don't need anyone, even when deep down your heart might be yearning for someone to truly listen without judgment.
So how do we practice what you called smart vulnerability then? How do we find that balance between protecting ourselves and allowing connection?
Smart vulnerability isn't about revealing everything to everyone indiscriminately. That's often unwise. It's about consciously choosing to open up, perhaps gradually, only to those individuals who have demonstrated they are willing and able to listen without judgment, with empathy.
Building trust.
Building trust first, absolutely. You can reveal wisely by first listening to your own heart to discern what you truly want and need to say, and then carefully considering to whom you can genuinely entrust that information. Opening up isn't about dumping all your emotional baggage onto anyone who'll listen. It's often about gradually revealing small, authentic pieces of yourself at the right time to someone who has earned your trust, someone with a truly listening heart.
How might that look practically?
Start small. Maybe articulate a feeling directly and simply, without expecting a specific response or solution. For example, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed lately. Be honest with yourself first about whether you seek understanding, connection, or just an outlet. Share something you've kept hidden, perhaps something relatively minor at first, with someone who has previously shown genuine care and discretion. Sometimes, even a simple, honest, "I'm tired lately" can open a surprising space for real connection.
Are there examples of public figures who navigated this well?
Many successful people don't reveal their deepest weaknesses every time they feel vulnerable, but they develop wisdom about when to share and when to keep things private. Oprah Winfrey is often cited. She didn't immediately reveal the full extent of her childhood trauma to the world. She carried the immense weight of abuse, poverty, and loneliness for a long time, building her strength and platform. Only when she felt confident that sharing these truths would no longer break her, but could instead empower her and others, did she share them with profound stability, using her story ultimately to heal and connect with countless people worldwide. That's the power of conscious, timed revelation. Not hiding forever, but choosing to share when the pain has been integrated and transformed into strength.
Choosing the timing from a place of strength.
Exactly. Think, too, of the old man in Hemingway's The Old Man in the Sea. He's alone on the vast ocean with his small boat and the giant marlin surrounded by silence. No one knows the full extent of his past hurts, his falls, his disappointments. Yet, amidst the waves and the struggle, his quiet endurance, his internal fortitude is his most powerful asset. He doesn't need anyone to see his weariness or his struggle. He chooses not to speak of it, using his epic battle with the fish to prove his life's dignity to himself, even if he returns with only the skeleton. This isn't just stubbornness, it's the art of knowing when to reveal and when to let silence and action speak. So, those who choose not to reveal every weakness may not be hiding. They might just be waiting for the right time, for greater inner stability, for the day they can speak their story without an inner tremor. Far from being weak, they are often deeply strong, possessing a cultivated art for preserving their humanity and energy in a world filled with constant judgment and evaluation. Opening or closing your heart isn't about right or wrong. It's a conscious choice you make for your life to continue unbroken, leaving enough space for your own heart to breathe and heal, even when the world doesn't fully understand your choices.
And finally, maybe as a result of all these deliberate choices, the thinking before speaking, the focus, the strategic reserve, his or her words just have more weight because they speak only when necessary.
Yes, this culminates powerfully. The core idea is that speaking less but ensuring it counts when you do is a potent trait that confers immense credibility and influence. People who choose their words carefully are consistently seen as more thoughtful, thorough, and purposeful, unlike those who tend to speak idly, fill silence, or opine on everything without real substance. The power of their words doesn't come from eloquence alone or loudness, but from the evidence of a deep inner process behind them. When they do speak, you often feel the truth in it, the confidence, the accountability. This contrasts sharply with those who speak frequently and on every single topic, often leaving listeners unsure what's real, what's considered, or what's just filler.
What's the psychology behind why that reserved speech feels so weighty?
Well, again, think about the brain. Your emotional brain, the amygdala, often reacts much faster than your rational prefrontal cortex, especially when you feel challenged, excited, or disagree strongly. Those who speak less and choose their timing well are generally more skilled at engaging their prefrontal cortex first. They insert that pause. They don't typically speak out of fleeting emotion. They speak because they've considered the potential outcome, the necessity, the impact. Their words aren't just reactions. They're often pieces of advice, clear direction, or thoughtful reflections that genuinely shift others' perspectives or move the conversation forward constructively. So how can people practice speaking less but with greater quality, without losing their personality or seeming unnatural?
You don't need to become robotic or lose your naturalness at all. Instead, just start by questioning your impulses more often. Is this word truly necessary right now? What will it achieve? Is this contributing to a solution or result, or is it just me needing emotional release? Practice active listening more than speaking. Observe how your words actually affect others. Do they clarify or confuse? Do they build up or tear down? Take time, even a few extra seconds, to choose precise, meaningful words. This gradually builds quality without diminishing your authentic self. And sometimes remember, the best words aren't long explanations, but good, short, clarifying questions, followed by deep listening.
Letting silence do some work too. Absolutely. Speaking only when necessary directly impacts your credibility in all relationships, personal and professional. Someone who isn't verbose, who doesn't dominate conversations, is often seen as more reliable, even more influential, sometimes without any formal leadership position. Their words can act like a compass. A single, well-considered sentence from them in a meeting can sometimes silence a room, prompting genuine consideration, because everyone knows it's likely well thought out, not just noise. Relationships tend to become more stable because people perceive you as sincere and not manipulative with your words.
That makes sense. Credibility is built on that perceived thoughtfulness. Can you give us some historical or well-known examples of people whose words carried immense weight, perhaps partly because they used them sparingly?
Of course. Nelson Mandela is a powerful example. Imprisoned for 27 long years, he didn't use those years to cultivate harsh words or plot revenge. He used the silence, the constraint, to study, to reflect, to prepare, and to wait for the precise moment to speak with maximum impact. When he was finally released, his carefully chosen words became a global voice of reconciliation, transforming anger into hope, calls for revenge into calls for building a shared future, uniting an entire nation. Even those who once vehemently opposed him listened, because they knew his words weren't about winning or ego, but about peace, truth, and a better future. Because he didn't speak idly or excessively, his words carried immense moral credibility and weight.
Incredible. Any others?
Maybe Steve Jobs. He wasn't always considered the most eloquent or personable speaker in casual settings, perhaps, but every product launch keynote he delivered used relatively few, carefully chosen words to create massive global ripples. He spoke when he knew the product, the action could largely speak for itself, and he simply added the fire, the passion, the vision with his focused tone. His famous line from the Stanford commencement, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," wasn't long or overly explanatory, but it resonated and changed lives because it was spoken at the right time, from a place of deep conviction and lived experience.
Simple but profound because of the source and timing.
Exactly. Speaking only when necessary doesn't mean being silent all the time or being passive. It means understanding timing, deeply valuing your words, and having the courage to be silent, sometimes silent to listen, silent to wait, silent to think, and then speaking to create, not just to react. When you practice this, relationships deepen, credibility soars, and others begin to see that a quiet person isn't empty-headed, but rather chooses to speak only when their words can truly make a meaningful difference. In a world where noise often drowns out quality, words spoken from a calm, deliberate heart always hold immeasurable power. And finally, perhaps rounding out all these external impacts, we see that the truly capable individual often doesn't just talk about their dreams, they act on them, often quietly.
Right, the ultimate proof.
The ultimate proof. The core idea is that capable individuals often choose not to constantly verbalize their dreams and ambitions because they understand instinctively that words are fleeting, often cheap, while consistent action is the true, undeniable language of commitment and progress. They don't lack hope or courage, far from it. They simply recognize that words alone are too light, too ephemeral to truly change a life or build something substantial. Action, however, is the genuine language of determination. These individuals don't typically need preemptive applause or external praise before they start taking steps, because they know, perhaps from experience, that words can easily become wasted energy, a substitute for actual forward movement. They've likely seen countless people talk passionately about grand dreams, but then never take that crucial first step. Announcing a goal might feel like you've already started, giving you a little dopamine hit.
Yeah, that false sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. But in reality, nothing tangible has actually begun. The action hasn't happened.
So how do you make that shift? How do you switch from being primarily a talker about goals to being a consistent doer? Especially when, as we've said, the world often seems to reward the talkers, the promoters.
It's a conscious shift in priority. In a world where noise constantly demands attention, the quiet individual who focuses on action often becomes more intriguing, more respected in the long run, precisely because they prioritize reaching their goal over just being seen trying or talking about it. They understand that time and results will eventually speak more eloquently than their own mouth ever could. When you act quietly, you tend to focus more on the process, on improving yourself, free from the distracting pressure of others' eyes or the potentially demotivating sting of premature criticism. You also get to learn from your inevitable failures privately, without the added fear of public judgment or ridicule.
Learning in private, that's valuable.
Incredibly valuable. Not talking much allows for serious, consistent practice and iteration. You don't waste precious time and energy on image management or constantly justifying past statements or timelines simply because you never announced anything concrete in the first place. Your actions, in the end, will be your sole, undeniable explanation and proof.
Okay, so how does someone listening actually become more of an actor, less of just a talker? What's the first step?
Don't wait until you feel completely ready because, let's be honest, nobody ever truly feels 100% ready on day one of something new or challenging. Start small, but start now. Train your brain to act immediately on an intention, however small. If you want to read more, just open the book and read the first page now. Don't wait for the perfect quiet room or the perfect cup of coffee. If you want to exercise, just do 5 push-ups right now, even without the proper gear or gym membership. Every single time you push yourself to take one small action, instead of just thinking or talking about it, it's like setting a new little marker in your brain. I am a person who takes action. Over time, this behavior becomes ingrained, habitual, and you'll find you naturally speak less about intentions because the inner pride and satisfaction of seeing yourself actually do things will far outweigh any fleeting pleasure from external praise for just talking about them.
Building that internal evidence again.
Constantly. The journey of a river is, again, a perfect metaphor for the quiet person who acts. A river never announces its grand plan to reach the sea, yet it flows relentlessly, day after day. It navigates skillfully around sharp rocks, it plunges confidently over high waterfalls, it slowly but surely permeates through thick mud. It never demands praise or attention, but eventually it becomes this powerful waterway carrying boats, commerce, lives, and dreams along with it, often without anyone ever acknowledging its humble, quiet beginnings. Quiet actors are similar. They may not stand out initially, they might be underestimated, but every day they move forward, steadily, consistently, eventually reaching distant destinations, often unbeknownst to others who only saw the end result, not the quiet, persistent journey.
Can you give one last real-world example of this action over announcement?
Sure. Think about Amancio Ortega, the founder of Zara and the Inditex Group. He's famously private, rarely gives interviews, rarely appears in fashion news headlines. He never announced grandly that he would revolutionize the entire global clothing industry.
No, he just did it.
He just did it. He worked quietly behind the scenes, day in, day out for decades, relentlessly refining management systems, inventing some of the fastest production processes the industry had ever seen, adapting constantly to customer feedback. His small initial store transformed quietly into a massive global fashion empire, with many customers not even knowing what the founder looked like. This is the profound power of someone who chose consistent, intelligent action as their primary, almost sole, tool for achieving monumental success.
Action is the tool.
Becoming this type of person doesn't start with needing a grand, perfectly defined goal. It starts with a small but fundamental shift in attitude. Make a conscious decision not to let words replace action in your life. Start practicing daily. Daily practice reveals possibilities you previously thought impossible. You'll dare to fail more readily because no one necessarily knows what you're trying, so the stakes feel lower. You'll dare to practice imperfectly because there's no external criticism holding you back. You'll dare to develop at your own pace without the crushing pressure of having to prove yourself to anyone else along the way. And ultimately, you may well succeed beyond your own initial expectations, smiling quietly to yourself, knowing you didn't need to say anything at all to get there.
So, after exploring all of this, what does it all mean for you, the listener? We've taken a really deep dive today into the profound power of quietness and the often unseen silent strength of truly capable individuals. We've seen how dedicating time to inner reflection, even just committing to that challenging month we talked about, can unlock deep self-awareness, help you redefine your priorities, build unwavering discipline, free you from the tyranny of others' expectations, and spark incredible new ideas.
Yeah, that inner work is foundational.
Absolutely. And then we've learned that for those who truly make an impact in the world, their quiet choices, the choice to think before they speak, to focus intently on their own unique path, to manage their social energy wisely, and crucially, to truly let their actions speak volumes. These are not signs of weakness or avoidance at all. Instead, they're a testament to profound inner power, strategic wisdom, and a deep understanding of how things actually get done.
And this, I think, raises an important, maybe even provocative question for each of us listening.
Oh.
In a world that constantly, relentlessly demands your attention, your words, your opinions, your performance, perhaps the most revolutionary act you can take is to consciously choose silence sometimes.
Silence is revolution.
Yeah, not as an escape, not as giving up, but as an active, deliberate tool. A tool to cultivate clarity, to maintain your integrity, and to generate genuine, lasting impact. What if your greatest strength, your unique power, lies not in the loudness or frequency of your voice, but in the unwavering stillness and clarity of your purpose? Consider this. What quiet space, however small, will you intentionally create for yourself, starting today, to embark on your own journey of silent transformation?